Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we're currently joined by, I believe, 10th Man and Paul, so I'll raise the mic on them, see if I can get their attention. Good morning. Is that 10th Man? Hello, Paul.
Yes.
Hello, good to have you.
Did you have success with Discord yesterday?
With Discord? Yeah, I used it in the show.
No, I know. I just wanted to get a summary of.
Oh, of course you went, didn't you, to do farming stuff?
Yeah. Well, it was also a holiday, Memorial Day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it worked perfectly. So Unicorn Laser Eyes joined, and in the late after show, okay, on the second channel, he was in there, or she was in there. I don't know if it's he or a she. And I said, was Discord okay? I'd kind of checked it anyway with Ranty after Ballbusters. So 2 or 3 hours after the show had finished, I had a eureka moment and realised what had actually gone wrong, corrected it, and then got everyone back in, and it all worked perfectly. But during a live show, it also worked perfectly. Yes, thank you for asking.
Yeah, I was wondering, because in my mind's imagination, I'm thinking you're on Skype, you're on, of course, this channel, and then you're on Discord, and you're recording at the same time.
Yeah, it does get more complicated. I said to my wife last night, I need another monitor. I don't think I'm going to be able to afford to buy a new projector with Patreon money. That said, if you're watching this, smash the Patreon link. Support me today. That typically is where I get the funds to keep things repaired. So there's always something broken here. At the moment, there's one amp that's out for repair. God only knows. I spoke to the guy yesterday and he was like, can't replicate the fault. I'm like, my wife's heard it, I've heard it, I've sent it back twice. You know what I mean? But yeah. It's one of those. So that's out for repair. Before that, it was the bulb in the projector.
Is that your entropy repair guy?
Say again?
Is that your entropy repair guy?
Yeah, exactly. Fighting off the effects of entropy at every corner. I got my new toaster today. Very excited.
I thought you got it last week.
No, I ordered it last week.
Oh, okay. I had some fun with that.
It just came today. It's not new, it's old. It's from 1995.
Yeah, but you're into the quality good stuff.
Yeah, I like old stuff. If I can't afford good stuff new, I'll buy second-hand stuff that's good. But I'm very pleased with my new toaster. Already put bagels and toast through it.
Well, I'm eating toast as you talk.
Yeah. It's a special toaster.
I used to always buy
Go on.
I said I always used to buy the generation behind everybody else when I buy phones and stuff, because I was like, it still works pretty good, so it does its job, you know. There's no reason to buy a new phone when you can get older one a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, I'm into that sort of stuff to unwind rather than watching constant flat earth stuff. I'll find other content that's totally unrelated. So things like Mac motherboard repair, or recently I've been watching people repair phones, and you know, they buy like an iPhone 6 or 6S, same as the one I've got, and it'll come for $30 with a smashed screen and a completely dented case. The guy just strips out the motherboard, puts a new battery and screen in, total cost $90, and he's got essentially a brand new looking phone. You're like, yeah, I can see the sense in upcycling stuff, you know, recycling stuff rather.
Yep. So how long did the show go yesterday?
Same as normal.
I
couple of hours.
As long as I could.
Yeah, the second after show I tend to run a little bit longer because it goes out in the evening, so there's a big gap. So it's like the first live show, second live show, then the first live show repeats about an hour after the second one's finished on the second channel, but with the after show. But that typically is about an hour and a half. And then the second after show is about 2 hours. So I tend to aim to have it finish about midnight, because I end up watching it. And if it ends later than midnight, I'm up till 1 in the morning watching my own show.
Yeah. Content creator has commitments.
That's it. Hey, Flatzoid.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
Very
Good.
well. No complaints.
So do you pick up a whole new set of audience with Discord because it's got a different way of getting your name out, or is it the same people just using a different platform?
No, it's a different audience. So Betty and I were discussing this yesterday. It should be mutually beneficial for both of us, so it should hopefully bring some new people to her Discord server, and vice versa. People who may not have, come and watch the live show or watch the show at all, may be lurking around in Discord and find their way to the show as a result of it being, a packed room. When someone, I don't really know how it works, but when someone walks on by in Discord, however that works.
Sounds like every show's shown on Discord, and if they're there, they get to see it, and then they can join.
Yeah, basically. So I think more and more we're getting 10 on the panel, and there's no gaps for somebody who might have a question. So I end up with people emailing me going, "Can you send me the link?" And it's like, oh, yeah, I've got a tight enough schedule when the show starts as it is. So yes, I can. But if there's just another means, i.e. a Discord link, people can join. Yeah, they're not going to be instantly in part of the show unless I, involve them in the show. But that's easy enough to do. But I need them under the monitor. That's what we started this conversation with. I mean, I don't often tune into Globebusters, but I happened to tune in on Sunday on account of the fact that I thought Anthony might be on. And he wasn't, so I tuned out 20 minutes later and then tuned back in later on towards the end. And Bob was talking about his monitors that he'd got, and he's got 4. And I thought, yeah, that's about how many you need. You need about 4 monitors to run the show. I've got 2, and it's just nowhere near enough. Technically 3 with the iPad. So I actually monitor the output, i.e. what the audience gets on the iPad as well. So technically I've got 3 monitors running, and I need 5.
Oh gosh.
Got to aim high. If I try and convince my wife that I need a new monitor, I won't succeed. But if I tell her I need 2 new monitors, I might just get one.
Yeah. We need
You
5.
Go on,
You
Flatzoid.
might need a production crew as well.
Might be a different what?
You might need a production crew sometime as well.
Well, I am the production crew. That's what YouTube is, isn't it? It's what you can make of the platform. If you're getting a production crew, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are people like Linus Tech Tips that do computer videos. That it's a full staff. It's a building. It's a full business. Linus Media Group. Well, yeah, I'm sure eventually some YouTubers do turn into a full-on production, but I don't know. My aspirations aren't that lofty at this stage. I'll tell you that much. I'd like to make a living from it. That'd be good.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you yesterday if you're doing it full time yet or not.
Yeah, I do it full time. I've done for a while actually. I just never mentioned it to anybody.
That's quite cool.
It doesn't go over when I watch people talking about how they've transitioned into YouTube full time, and then they say support me. I always kind of cringe. So when I did it, it was actually quite a long time ago. I won't say how long, but I just kept it well and truly to myself. I set a target with my wife, discussed it, and said, right, this will be the point that I could do YouTube full time. I didn't tell the audience, but just set a date for if it's not financially successful, which is ultimately what it's all about if you're trying to do it as a job, which I am, and I've never denied that. I've just never overtly said this is my job. I have recently, at the point that it started to earn money, at the point that it started to actually put money in my pocket, I've said, yeah, I do this as a job now. Whereas, I don't know, 12 months ago, maybe a bit longer, I didn't. I just carried on as though nothing had happened. Because as far as the audience was concerned, nothing has changed. I'm just making shows. Maybe I was making a few more, but that's it. No one really noticed the difference. So why bother mentioning it was my attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you enjoy it a lot. So why not do something you have a passion for?
Well, that was it. That was what I said to my wife. I was like, the way I pitched it to her was, I'm very passionate about doing it. I love doing it. Therefore, I'm going to put a lot of effort into it because I like doing it. You know, if you enjoy doing something, you're going to tend to want to do it anyway. It doesn't seem like work. So although, yeah, morning, noon and night, I'm pretty much, you know, doing something to do with it or discussing it or talking about it or watching it back myself, you know, it is pretty much a full-time, well, not even pretty much, it is a full-time job, but it doesn't seem that way. You know, when I try and boil it down in terms of the hours to my wife, I dial it down. I make it seem like it's less than it really is. You know, I'll just count the amount of hours that I'm actually live, for example, and then it seems like I'm working hardly at all. You know what I mean?
So you probably, I mean, I know even with me, even while I'm sleeping, I'm thinking of stuff. So still actually working while you're sleeping.
Damn it. Yeah, I've turned the gain up on mic and it is definitely feeding back now. That's annoying. I'm either just a bit too quiet or it'll feed back. I could turn the gate up a bit. Sod it, I'll sacrifice the first syllable of whatever I say for no feedback, I think. So I'm talking to myself about technical things.
No, go ahead.
It sounds 100%.
Test.
It's not you, it's because I don't wear headphones.
Don't do it, John.
No, that's what I did on purpose.
It won't be you, it'll be the audience feed. So what's happening is I'm hearing you through a speaker. Hey, Travis, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello. Because I'm hearing you through a speaker and not through a pair of headphones. If my gain's too loud, then the speaker that I'm listening to you on will obviously go into the mic. Whereas I've got it set just so that I don't have to wear headphones. It just makes doing the show that much more comfortable. No one wants to be sat with headphones on for a prolonged period. I don't know. Obviously, when you guys are on the show, I'm like, get headphones.
Oh man. Hey Travis, good morning.
Joined and immediately ran away.
Good.
5 minutes and we'll start live.
Yeah, I thought yesterday we covered that subject again, but it seems like everything. I know I've benefited when a subject is covered more than once, but when Spurs kept bringing up the once the answer is once the question is answered, like he doesn't want to accept the answer, and then we get stuck.
Yeah, but it's almost like he's defending the Globers while trying to get through to them. I don't know. It's confusing.
Which is fine if you're gonna do that role play thing that Nathan likes to see, but I think it goes with more than one thought in your head at the same time, and it gets confusing for him.
Yeah, Spurs plays a very useful role though, which is pretty much what you're alluding to, right?
Yeah, I like the role play, but then once it gets answered, he needs to do what the ballers do: switch the subject, go somewhere else. But he hasn't got that part down.
Yeah, he takes it as a personal defeat. Like he's gone and gathered the information from the ballers. They've given him his rhetoric. He comes back to us with it, and when it fails miserably, he's like, "Well, I'm not saying there's a force." Like, no, we appreciate that. That's just you parroting the rhetoric and overtly doing it. So we know you're not a globehead, Spurs, in case you're listening to this.
I think there's an aspect to me. I thought about this too. We all kind of want to go back into that model and try to, undermine it or use their arguments against them and see the inconsistencies in it and all that stuff. And I think I fall into that same trap. I think he's fallen into. It's easy to do. I'm going back and listening to some Christian apologists over the last few weeks and hear them using the current scientific arguments to prove, Christianity and stuff like that. And I think that's something we all fall into, I think, at some level.
Well, this when this goes out to the Nathan Oakley audience, it'll be about 2 hours approximately, maybe a bit more, a bit less, sorry, an hour and 50 before Paula gets to have a debate with name. I'm not going to mess it up now. I'm going to go to the email and actually give it properly.
Oh, we're going to have the debate on the vegan?
Yes. So Paula prepped a presentation, got a presentation together, showed it me, asked me what I thought, and said, look, I still want to cover this subject. And I was like, I want you to cover it still. It's interesting. So for those not in the know, Nathan Thompson joined and put across an argument that JM Truth TV has been punting around, which is the idea that the Bible is pro-vegan. And he came on, discussed it vaguely for about 10 or 15 minutes with Paula, otherwise known as Bible Literalist, formerly Knowledge Scavenger. And the way it was left was that JM Truth TV would get back in touch with Paula and there'd be an arranged time. Well, because nothing came of it, Paula got a presentation and said, look, let's just do that. And I said, fine. We arranged it for today, as I say, about 8 p.m. UK time. What's that, midday central? And she'll put that presentation up regardless. So hopefully they'll join. They've both, I don't know why, but Nathan Thompson's also said I'll be there, but I don't mind either way. Great if there's two of them, no problem.
So who is Paula debating? She's debating JMT?
JM Truth TV. As I say, Nathan Thompson kind of also alluded that he would be there in his email response to me. Whether or not he is there as well, it doesn't bother me either way. I don't care. Obviously jumping all over the conversation like anybody who's the third wheel there. That's absolutely fine. I'm more interested in just hearing the pros and cons of both arguments. We got the broad strokes of it the other day.
Yeah, I've had this.
Yeah, just to make a connection real quick, JM Truth is the same production company that shot the footage for FE Core when they were in Denver.
Oh, okay.
And he's also the production company that's heading up the documentary The Plain Truth with Shelley Lewis.
Oh, cool.
So,
I mean, this is a kind of off topic. It's not really flat earth related, although it will go under the banner of a flat earth debate. I was going to do it as a ball busters because it was just it was going to be a presentation and then, Discord at the end for random questions. But in this instance, I will actually just fire up a flat earth debate. It's not necessarily going to be flat earth though. But there we go. That's just the name of the show, right? Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Hey.
Hi, Anthony.
How's it going?
Can you hear me?
Do hear you very well.
Good. All's good. I've got people asking me why I've backed out of Fight the Flat Earth interview, Hangout. And I basically said because of his demeanour. And they were like, you should do it anyway. You've got the win. And I'm like, if I do it, it means that he thinks that I'm his bitch because he's battered me all week personally. I ain't going to encourage that. He's not my bitch. He can fuck off. Why would I? There's no benefit to me to do it. Even I've already got the win, even though he's never going to accept it.
In sales, one of the training sessions taught me to get the question to the customer. So the customer asks the question, what's in it for me? And you've got to give them the answer to that before they ask the question. That's the basic technique. So what's in it for you? In other words, what's he put across as his pitch to make it beneficial to you to do it?
Not that really. It's more the fact of his behaviour towards me, indirectly in his Sleeping Warrior week. If you watch any of them videos, none of them are on topic. All of them are about me personally. And what he does is he gets one lines from a paragraph.
I understand that. I'm saying, what's in it for you? What's
Nothing.
Well, there you go. Here's your answer. Don't worry about why not to do it. You go, well, what's in it for me? Nothing, you say. No benefit. I've already won. Well, no, thank you. Right, 60 seconds. We'll start live.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion on either Hangouts or Discord, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by 10th Man, Sleeping Warrior, The Plain Truth, Paul, and Flatzoid. Very good to have you all.
Hello, Watto.
Hello. Any signs of Earth curvature?
Nada. Just a little bit of fuzzy obstruction at the horizon that could be anything.
Go on, Flatzoid. What did you say?
Definitely not.
Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope, sorry, that was me.
Nope.
Well, I'm not dizzy.
Any evidence of... Hey, Chocolate saying, how you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning, good to have you. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
No measurable distance.
No measurable distance to the sun. However, you can act as if there were one.
That's excellent. Good to know. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity, Travis. Scientific evidence thereof.
Nary a bit.
Nary a bit.
I like that, Trav. Nice.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
Nope, too much presupposing.
Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
R.
Nope.
Nada.
Nope.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure, same as we breathe, without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon? For all those fundamentalist zealots who believe in the sky vacuum, otherwise known as outer space.
No.
No.
Impossible.
Do you think the globers understand what a container is?
No, I don't. I know they don't, because they present
Because they're
containers
always-
with holes in
Yeah,
and say they're
always-
not containers.
Yeah, they're always asserting there has to be a lid for a container.
Have you seen Blue Marble Science's video where he claims gas pressure without a container, and then he uses a pipe?
I use it a lot against the people.
It's brilliant. I mean, they call me retarded, right? I admit I've made mistakes in the past, right? I have got shit wrong. I made a video about the wrong forecourt. Same city, same country, roughly the same age period. He was even described as a philosopher. I thought they were talking about the same forecourt. Didn't realise there was a different bloke that wasn't actually a physicist. And I have to ask myself, what's the difference between a physicist and a philosopher in the context of heliocentrism? And obviously there's no difference, because there's no evidence. You can't be a physicist in heliocentrism because there is no evidence to be a physicist about. It's all philosophy. I make my mistakes. However, I can laugh at my mistakes when I make them, because it's sometimes the big ones, right? Blue Marble Science thinks that he's demonstrated gas pressure and he can't realise that the pipe is the container. But an utter moron. It's like Craig from Fight the Flat Earth claiming that gravity is a force because Newton said it was and Einstein supported him. And it didn't. Einstein replaced him. And when we used words to check up the meanings of words, replaced was one of the words. Superseded was another word. It doesn't support Craig's assertion. So we went and get Craig. He went and get George Musa to support him, and George Musa politely stabbed him in the face with a compass. Craig still thinks, and he's telling people that he won the debate between me and him over that point. And I'm like, moron, it's literally telling you gravity's not a force, but you can think of it. There is no explanation to explain that there is a force that Craig can claim victory on, but he's still doing it. So you've got blue marble science describing gas pressure without a container and a tube, and you've got Craig fight the flat earth claiming gravity is a force when Musa says it's not, and he still thinks that he's being supported. What are we playing with here? This is ridiculous.
Idiots.
Yeah, well,
Good morning,
they got
guys.
no humility.
Hey, Owen.
I mean,
Just want to say a quick shout out. Sorry, quick shout out. Thanks, SX0 for the super chat. Yeah, you're right. I didn't get to say it, but no evidence. You're right. He was answering the housekeeping. That concludes the housekeeping. Thank you very much indeed. I just want to make one more note before you go on about the pipe thing. It's the equivalent of putting a slow puncture in a tyre and claiming it's not a container anymore.
It's the equivalent of putting a slow puncture what?
Got a container with a hole in, it's still a container. So given the massive surface area of the pipe, relative to the pipe's surface area, the hole is quite small. So you're going to have entropy delayed, slowed down, but entropy will still increase. It will still succumb to entropy. And the same principle is applied with a much lesser surface area with a tyre. So if you have a tyre, a container, and you put a screw in it, you can still drive around potentially for a day, and you've still got tyre pressure inside the tyre, because the molecules of gas bounce around and hit the rubber, and then hit the metal, and then hit the rubber, and then hit the metal, and then one of them hits the hole, and you lose a tiny bit of pressure, and over enough time, entropy will still take hold. It just takes a while for all of the molecules to hit the hole rather than the walls of the container. And the pipe is exactly the same. The gas can hit the sides of the container, the pipe, or, over time, can eventually succumb to entropy, given that you've got a more dense gas underneath and a less dense gas on top, or however his arrangement is. You're still going to succumb to entropy because the gas is free-flowing. It's not attached. So entropy will still take hold. It'll just take a longer period of time.
can I get a keyword?
Hey, did you guys see
Keyword
on Jose?
time.
Owen's keen to regale us with his... I saw your chats in Skype about it, so apparently... Well, just tell us all about it, Owen. Go ahead.
All right, yeah. Yesterday I was kind of last minute disappointed about not being able to go to gamer night because it was postponed to today, so I was all fired up. And I basically, as an alternative, dove into Jose's, although very late in the show, like after 2 hours. And Jose gave me this room, like he literally said, okay, I'm going to throw away the panel and people can do a one-on-one with Arwin. So that was like really nice. And first Brenda, and it was exactly how Brenda does things. It ended up pretty much yelling at her as expected. But after that, Rumpus, and he tried to trick me in the belief that relative density is incomplete, basically. By withholding the information of the antecedent of orientation, because that's something I figured out thanks to that. Like, yeah, when you do a physical experiment, like, in the world, you have to have that orientation in order to predict what's going to happen, because it matters. But you already know that because you are living in it. You already have that orientation. So most people don't really think about it. But when you only get presented with a 2D drawing, you don't know all the elements to it. So he was basically trying to trick me into thinking that relative density is not enough. So, yeah, that was what happened yesterday.
That's because he wants relative density to have a force that he wants to call buoyancy, so that he can apply gravity, not realizing that the force itself is caused by the density of the medium in the first place. We know that, we can test it, we can demonstrate it, we can prove it, but he dismisses that because he wants to imply an additional cause or a replacement cause. Well, scientific method says that you can't do that, Rumpus. Scientific method states that if you think that there's an additional cause, you've got to come up with, formulate an experiment where you manipulate your perceived additional cause and then prove that it does something. So unless you can demonstrate it, it's pseudoscience.
That's exactly basically what I hammered Brenda with over the head, because she was just kept on playing. No, it is proven. Gravity is proven. And every time the example, it's always mass, always weight being the thing varied. And she just couldn't get it.
I know. But it's because, to be honest, it's difficult to understand that where the pseudoscience line's drawn, because although I can see it now, it stands out a mile for me. It's not easy for everybody else to realize, and it is obfuscated. This term is obfuscated to death to deliberately confuse people, and that's what they want us talking about. They want us talking about the topic within the topic, so that the topic becomes not the point.
Yeah, they want you to beg the question.
Not whether or not gravity exists. The point becomes gravity generally, and whether or not it's this or that. And
exactly. They want you to beg the question of gravity.
Is a claim that needs to be demonstrated, otherwise it's pseudoscience.
They want you to beg the question and assume there is a force. That's what they want you to do. So once you're into begging the question, you then have to start. Arwin more accurately describes his examples with force disequilibrium. In other words, it doesn't start in equilibrium, it starts in disequilibrium to whatever tune. And then you can call it buoyancy if you forced it down, you can call it gravity if you've pulled it up, and you've got this disequilibrium force that needs accounting for. Generally speaking, someone will have come along and forced it out of equilibrium in the first instance, although there are some exceptions, but there's always something that precedes it that's taken it into that position. For example, a tree growing. Anyway, the point is that in this example, they want you to beg the question. Now, my ray of hope in this regard is we've seen this pan out before with the Coriolis effect. We're now seeing the tail end of it. People are starting to understand how simple the Coriolis effect, which is real, is, and how it does not apply on Earth, how we don't have two separate reference frames, how half the globers will argue that we only have one single reference frame anyway. Oh, the Earth is attached to the atmosphere, physically impossible with all the different directions of winds, but nevertheless, that's what they'll argue. Well, you can immediately go, no Coriolis effect then.
Can I comment to that?
Well, you can. I'm just saying, my example is that 12 months ago, or even going back further, 2.5 years ago, when it was Brian Mullen, the people being kicked out of their this community, or leaving the community on account of the fact of the amount of hassle they had over just highlighting that Coriolis is nonsense. You zip forward to 2.5 years, and we're at the position now where I would hope, most of the audience at least appreciate that there is no Coriolis effect on Earth. Coriolis effect is real, it requires two reference frames, and Earth simply doesn't meet that requirement. It doesn't have two reference frames, and a lot of the globers will argue it doesn't have two reference frames to justify the Coriolis effect. That's how high the level of doublespeak is with that subject. My point being that gravity...
That's exactly where I wanted to respond.
My point being that gravity is the same. We're just a bit further back in the conversation because it's a better form of brainwashing for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe we'll figure that out along the road as well. But we all get it. Doesn't mean, there's not going to require the same 10 times having the arguments and winning with gravity as we did with the Coriolis effect. Sorry, that's the end of my point, Armin. Go ahead.
Right. So basically, there are not two reference frames on the Earth, but you can act as if there were.
You interrupted my point for a joke. Then again, I don't mind. It's just a Georgie joke. So I'll let you off.
But it's kind of applied, doesn't it? That's what they do. Like, yeah, it doesn't, but it's still there. So there's no two reference frame, but there's still the Coriolis effect. So you can there is no two reference frame, but you can act as if there were. That's kind of what they're doing, really.
And Nathan,
Can we say?
Well, the reason that the gravity is a better form of brainwashing is because everyone thinks you just have to drop a pen and you prove it. And that's it. You drop something and it falls to the ground, and there you go, gravity. That's why it's the brainwashing that worked so well.
Nathan.
At the 14-minute mark or so, Musser played his hand and said that the concept. He said that the workings of gravity you shouldn't use as force concepts, but the effects of gravity you could use as force concepts. Now, if you think about concepts or conceptual thinking, I got two illustrations that will show you what they are saying. One is a tug of war, where you got 5 guys on one side, 5 guys on the other side. And what he's trying to tell us is that they're playing tug of war, but no rope. No.
Hey,
rope.
I got it.
Hold on, before you do, Paul. Hold on. He's got one more, and then Anthony's been waiting in the wings patiently.
Yeah. The second one is what we are using today, Wi-Fi. Here I am in America, California, and some of you guys are in the UK and other places, and we're using Wi-Fi. But what he's saying is that no, there's no Wi-Fi. It's just a concept. There's nothing in between. There is no force. There's no wave. There's no connection.
Just magic.
Yeah, it's magical. That's why he resorted to magical. I mean, he's dead the minute he called it a concept. I'm done.
Yeah, spot on. Sleeping Warrior, I've got you presented if you want to wait for full screen.
Yeah, right. Shout outs to Roxanne Glenn in chat. If you haven't subbed to her, go and sub to her. She was at Speaker's Corner at the weekend. You should check it out. It's really good. Right, so I got some really cool feedback from numerous people in the last 24 hours about these clips. And basically what these clips are showing is that there is a lateral displacement. Let me turn that one down a bit. Because people are still struggling with this up and down. And this is like this one's hot water and cold water, apparently. The solution is the same density other than the temperature. And this is literally displacing laterally because the temperature change. The warmer water is less dense. The colder water is more dense. So the direction is less dense and more dense. It's not up and down. We call it up and down because we're the humans and we need to communicate to each other to be able to describe the effect that we see or the phenomena that we see. So we're using the relative term that's up and down. But the direction or the vector is caused by the density of the top fluid, which is cold, which is warm, compared to the density of the bottom fluid, which is less warm or cooler, and because the density changes. So I want to read to you what the description of the thing says. Density tank demonstration. A demonstration of what happens when you combine cold, salty, dense water and warm, fresh. All right, so this one's got two causes. In this video, the clear, fresh water sits on top of the blue, salty water because it is less dense than the salty water. So they're using two causes there. So that's a point that we could discuss in itself, because this is where you can have two independent variables within one thing. You get a correlation. So there's not the one cause in this one. There's two. But I can move to the next one, which is the one I showed yesterday, which doesn't have two. It only has the one. And basically, let's play this again. This is the same thing. We don't need to be describing these things as anything other than more dense and less dense. When we apply up and down, we are using that term to describe it to other humans because the humans use the term up and down. But it doesn't mean that up and down is the cause or the effect in this. We're using it as a descriptive term. What's really causing the variation?
Orientation.
Yeah, it's an orientation. What's really causing the effect that we see, the observed phenomena, is the density of the two solutions in question, and one displaces the other naturally for whatever reason, but we know that it is caused by the density of the liquids relative to each other. So it's right to say that density is not a cause in itself, but when you have two of them next to each other, a vector is created, and where you have disequilibrium, you have separation. Always. That's what happens, unless it's physical objects that can't move. So this is, again, showing a lateral displacement. There's no up and down. This is balancing things out. So in the context of up and down, we're not seeing that. We're seeing lateral displacement, and we can see that the effect is caused by the density of the solution. In this one instance, does it give a description? No, it doesn't on this one. So let's pause that one, and I'll go to the third one. And this is the best one in my eyes. Let's move it to about there. So this is the hot water, cold water one. The cold water is the blue. This is the same density, by the way. This one's just hot and cold water, and that's why it's slower. The red one is obviously warm. But as you can see, the effect of convection is that hot goes to cold and cold goes to hot. It's balancing itself out. So whilst this is finding its equilibrium, it's forming a layer, and the vector is caused by that density disequilibrium. When you make it equilibralize and find its level, then it settles. That's where the vector's coming from. That's the direction that we label up and down. And obviously, it's doing it. It's just the way nature works. I don't know why it's doing it that way. God designed it that way, or something like that. Who cares? But the point is, that's what we observe. The phenomena we observe is convection currents. Why it does it, who knows? But we know what causes it. It is the density, and the vector comes from the fact that we have a displacement between these two things that are relative to each other. So yesterday, I had really good feedback by people who said that basically this was really cool because it shows that it isn't up and down, it's left and right as well. And obviously that our atmosphere is layered. So because our atmosphere is layered, and we know that we've got a dynamic system that is being mixed up by weather, sun, all the convection currents caused by the heating and cooling, that's what's mixing it all up. But if it was left in a state where nothing was moving, it would all level itself out and you would have layers. But the sun has to mix it all up for us to be able to breathe it properly. And that's what we're seeing.
Right. So the lateral movement is basically also a turbulence effect. It's because of liquid dynamics.
Yeah. Fluid dynamics.
It is displaced laterally. That is what it comes down to.
Yeah. So it didn't go up and down.
In the
It went left and
displacement,
right.
there is a turbulence effect making it more more twirly, more round in its movement at first hand. That's the turbulence, but it is all moving laterally.
Yeah.
Just a quick
Here's
hello.
a
Sorry
thought.
to interrupt. Sorry, we've got someone in our Discord server. Right hand, hey, can you hear us? Might not be.
Yeah, what up?
Good to have you.
Thanks, man. I'm trying to get the point across that, like, you guys are in the same boat ballers are when you start talking about relative density, because it's not a force either. And if you push a rubber ball to the bottom of water, there is a force that pushes it back up. So it's not gravity and it's not relative density. So when we mock George Muser for saying gravity is not a force, ha, 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 what's pushing the ball to the surface of the water? It's the same thing when you say relative density. So it's the pressure differential between the object and the medium that, like, this needs to be getting across, because everybody keeps saying, even Sleepaway just now says, we don't know why it does it. We don't, no, it's the pressure differential between the medium and the object.
Right, well said.
That brings up the point I was thinking of.
I just want to get one more in before you do, Paul. So when you say the cause is relative density, well, no, that's the effect. So to say it's the cause is kind of circular reasoning, but correct.
Exactly.
Right, the hand. Thank you for
Right,
that.
but I would like to be the devil's advocate for a moment, and that pressure differential, of course, the gravity believers will assume that is caused by gravity because it fits.
Hey, Dawn, can you hear us?
But yeah.
Hello, Dawn, can you hear us? Sound, my friend, no sound.
Come on, Don, you're going to get kicked if you don't.
Join on Discord. Sort your mic out.
I think so.
Okay, can I jump in now? If you can hear me. Now, I'm obviously trying to figure this out and think it through. Can pressure be considered, like molecules inside of a tank or any kind of pressure, be at some level be considered a force on an object?
Yeah, gas pressure is a force, isn't
it?
Okay. It has to be in a container. You need a container for pressure.
I didn't hear what he said. He muffled really bad.
You need a container for pressure. Like, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, the problem
that's not my point.
The problem is when you say
hold on, Anthony. Hold on. Go ahead, Paul. What's your point?
That's not my point. Like, could it? They talked about the force and exerted on an object, whatever it is, to cause to cause things to go up or down. Could it be like what causes a helium balloon to go up is the force of the molecules pressing against it to force it upwards?
Yeah, it's the pressure of the air that pushes it up, the same way as the pressure of the water pushes a rubber ball to the surface.
Right. Okay. So now, what if they're trying to measure this force and it's not really, they're measuring some kind of ethereal thing that exists out of nowhere, but that's what they're trying to measure, that force of the molecules pressing upon another object, forcing it up or down. Or, I guess the word forces, or causing it to go, like that. Of course, I'm using the relative term again, but move towards the sky, displace towards the sky, or displace towards the ground. So what if that's what we're talking about here, is this force of the molecules interacting? Because the more I look at it, the more I think about it, everything we see in this system we live in is either pressure, temperature, or chemical reactions occurring. There's no other things that I can see that can be account for anything. And even like I said, I was saying this yesterday, I was making my, tea, my iced tea, and actually, in a sense, entropy is necessary for tea to occur, because I want the tea to disperse throughout the whole liquid. So entropy is almost necessary, which is almost more of a chemical process, at some level, because it's described that way. So, I just throwing that out there as a thought process. What they're trying to measure something that's just a way that everything's interacting with each other.
Yeah,
You understand?
entropy also affects the dilution effect, the natural
Right.
tendencies
And
of compatible substances to want to mix in with one another if they're compatible.
right, like when I put the tea in, first of all, I boil the tea, and then I put ice in the bottom of the pitcher to cool the water so that it doesn't, for one, doesn't break the glass. Two, I want iced tea. I don't want hot tea. But then when I pour water on top of it to finish filling it up, you can see what even Anthony was describing, all this whole process. Like through me making glasses of tea, I saw diffusion, entropy, all this occurring in one fell swoop, making just a picture of tea. You know, it's just, I don't know. More things to think about, that's all.
Yeah, I was trying to explain it. You know, if you have a balloon or even a packet of crisps, you go at low pressure altitude. You see it expands.
You need a better mic, man.
Yeah, I didn't hear a word you said.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but your mic is just very it warps the sound constantly.
Oh, must be the Wi-Fi connection again.
No, it's not a that you're phasing out. It's just that the sound itself is being warped by the quality of your mic, I think.
Don't worry, I'm getting a new phone soon. This one's a bit cheap.
Well, that killed the mood.
Yeah, sorry.
I feel like I did it. Don't feel bad. I think I did it.
Dawn's just told me on Discord that he didn't have his mic plugged in. I said, well, plug your mic in and go in on Discord then.
Mike, I've unserver muted him so you can talk on Discord.
So, Anthony, the example you showed with a container of warm water, cold water, red dye, blue dye, this reminds me a little bit about past shows when, someone says, well, what caused the ball to drop? And then Nathan would say, well, did you pick it up? Yeah. Did you take it up 10 feet? Yeah. Did you let it go? Yeah. Well, you caused the ball to drop. So when you look at that video that you showed, there was a barrier. And as long as the barrier was there, the two dyes or the saltwater solution, the more denser versus the freshwater, were separated until someone caused an action that moved the barrier. And then the effects took place. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So when properties that are different than one another are separated by a barrier, we see it the way it was prior to a human being doing something. The minute you do something, when two different types of properties mix, or maybe three or four types of properties, like that one picture on the internet that shows the cherry and the cork and the honey and the water, all the different layers, they're all going to eventually find their equilibrium because they're made of different properties and they behave to each other differently, right?
I think that's the bit that most people don't understand. I think that
You're not literally saying humans cause things to drop, are you?
Well,
when we drop
but it
them,
does-
yeah.
so let me
But
ask
it
you,
does
Dawn.
speak to a prime mover.
Sometimes things drop without humans, seeing them or touching them, right?
Yeah,
Like
but there's a process
We
that will have
assume.
yeah, but there will be a process that have preceded it.
Okay. Like, what would be the process of like a meteor coming down from the sky?
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
Have
That's
you ever
not
got
a human,
evidence of
right?
a meteor coming down from the
You
sky?
can't say human is the cause of a meteor coming down, can you?
Yeah, you
No.
could drop it out of
You've
a
got
plane. You could
evidence of a
sure you could drop
meteor
a rock
coming
from a
down.
plane.
Sorry, not humans. A process, like a tree growing for the apple falling.
So is it now silly to say that, my microphone dropping is I'm the cause? Maybe
Yeah.
that's dropping for the same reason the meteor came down that you can't answer.
Well, you
Why?
dropped the mic, and we have no answer for what a meteor even is.
Well, it's something dropping. That's
Well,
what I
here's
was using as
something.
an example. It's a thing dropping in the same direction that the
something.
microphone would drop. It's just we haven't dropped it ourselves, you know.
Dropping is relative. That's a relative term. It's going down due to the pressure differential between the microphone and the air. A vacuum doesn't suck things up. It creates a pressure differential, which makes molecules move in a certain direction. You're not displaying anything when you drop a microphone, except that you can artificially create a pressure differential by expending energy.
I gotta disagree on that.
Well, actually, I think I know what
relative.
Scientism is
The
driving at,
direction's
though.
relative. Dropping is relative, and relative to the ground. That's what we're saying.
And
The ground is the stablest, continuous, highest pressure that doesn't change.
I actually think. No, I don't believe it's to do with pressure.
You can stand on
Here's the
top
thing.
of
I
a
think what
rock
Scientism is
with
driving at.
pressure.
I'm talking over somebody. I'm trying not to, but I think 10th man's driving at something. If I can gather it, I mean, if nothing is acted upon in any way, everything will find an equilibrium. You know, and then once there's equilibrium reached, unless something is acted upon it at some point, whether an agent like me or agent of someone else, it'll always stay equilibrium. Which to me speaks of what other people have talked, and we've talked about in here, the ontological primitive of a prime mover, someone that had initially started the process. Because if not, it's all going to maintain equilibrium without some kind of intelligent agent acting upon it.
I agree with intelligent agent. I disagree that things stop acting upon each other. Air is always acting upon the mediums that it is touching. Objects are always acting upon each other. There's always pressure acting upon other pressure, always.
So sorry, right?
I'm talking about equilibrium.
Pressure makes things drop towards Earth.
Absolutely.
Hold on, no, Paul. Even in equilibrium, you've just found equilibrium between the pressures. So there is still a pressure at play, but it's found equilibrium.
Yeah, it's the differential. Yeah, my fault. It's the differential in pressure that creates movement and vector.
Right. Exactly.
So up will always be going to a lower pressure. Down will always be going into a higher pressure. Always. It doesn't matter which direction, because direction is meaningless. It's the pressure direction.
Why do we have a higher pressure next to the ground then?
Yeah, that just means you have a higher pressure.
Yeah, but why? In your explanation, why is it higher pressure near the ground?
I've gone over this with you 10 times. I'll do it again because air and water are both fluids, and when you stack fluids in a container, their weight, aka their pressure, starts building up.
Presupposing the container.
You need a container for pressure.
Well, we disagree on that.
What?
Great sky container has never been found.
What the fuck? We disagree on the necessary antecedent. Show me a single example beyond your fundamentalist belief in a sky vacuum where you don't need a container. Go.
Well, I haven't got an example on Earth for you. The
Sorry,
Earth is the
didn't you listen? Beyond your fundy zealot belief about what the sky is, show me a single example. Shut up, Dawn. You didn't listen the first time. You told me about what the sky again, so you were going to use your fundy belief in what the sky is.
I'm saying I don't have it. I don't have what you want.
Right.
Sorry.
So, given that we don't have any examples of,
but we still disagree.
Shut up.
On it.
Given that we don't have a single example of a container less pressure, then we will assume, as we correctly state, that the necessary antecedent is, as stated, a container. And without the container, there can be no pressure. Despite your fundy belief that you seem to disagree about this, that's because you're retarded. Yeah? Your disagreement in this regard means nothing. The necessary antecedent... Shut up! Shut your stupid mouth!
No.
The necessary antecedent doesn't change with your fundy belief, Dawn. It is a container. Without the container, there can be no pressure. What is your malfunction? Why is it that every time I make this point, you talk over the top of me?
I'll wait.
I'll try again for a fourth fucking time, and you'll shut your mouth, Dawn. Yeah? I'll say it again with a little bit of an insult. You talking over me is because you're retarded. You don't know how to converse properly. And at the end of my conclusionary point, you talk because you're retarded. So don't litter my show with your mental incapacity. Just shut the fuck up and listen. I will get to the end of my statement in the face of your fundy belief that it's not needed, that you somehow disagree with our statement about the necessary antecedent. You're still talking. I haven't got to the end of my statement once. Now you, Dawn, the fundy fuckwit here, will shut your fundy mouth and you'll listen to my statement at least once without fucking interrupting. Okay, Dawn?
Then I'm going to turn my mic up and be angry and insulting to you, maybe.
You haven't listened to my statement. You've said, I don't agree. Yeah? Well, you're wrong, Dawn. So in the face of that, you can either...
I literally disagree. There's no debating
you can
that.
disagree, and I'm trying to point out that your disagreement is meaningless. It's an antecedent. What's an antecedent, Dawn?
I've no idea.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You're the fucking fundy fuckwit retard here.
Dude,
so don't talk over me. Don't talk over me when you don't know what we're talking about.
You have no that idea if you didn't look it up, you weirdo.
You have no clue what's being discussed. You're the dumbest person on the panel, and yet every time I make my conclusion, like now, you talk over me. This is your last opportunity, Dawn.
You can't debunk
your last opportunity. Why are you rumpusing
your
the
reasons
shit?
For what happens are bullshit, made up.
Just rumpusing the panel because you've lost. This is pathetic.
You make it up, Nathan.
Yeah, you're not letting me get to the end of my statement even once. I've tried 4 times,
twice
and
during the statement,
every time
so I had to speak up.
You've rumpused the top of the statement at the end of it. The conclusionary point gets ended because of you, because you're an idiot.
No, you made 2 mistakes through the statement, so I had to
name them.
Butt in.
Name them.
You said I was retarded. That's one mistake.
Yes, you are retarded. Yeah, you're
said
disagreeing with what an antecedent is, and you don't know what an antecedent is. That makes you fundamentally retarded.
That's also
yeah, let's make it clear for the audience. He's just said he disagrees with the necessary antecedent. I ask him what an antecedent is, and he says he doesn't know, and then disagrees that he's retarded. Yeah, unfortunately, retarded people, even in the face of me pointing out just how stupid and retarded they are, claim they're not retarded. Yeah, stupid people don't realise how stupid they are, Dawn. That's you. That's why you keep interrupting. Every time I try to get to the end of a statement, you think it's your opportunity to talk over the top of me. Now, I'm the one with the information. You're not. That's the simplistic way of putting this, Dawn. Now, you can rumpus the living shit out of me non-stop, but it doesn't change the antecedent-consequent relationship needed for gas pressure. Now, you can say you disagree. That just makes you retarded. You don't have to like it, Sunshine.
Atmospheric pressure is different.
I destroyed this argument of his before. I've had, if I can handle it.
Yep,
so the whole reason they'll say atmospheric pressure is different is because, it's the weight of the atmosphere. Well, what is weight? It's the pressure applied to a scale. So all they're saying is atmospheric pressure is different from air pressure, and they sound retarded.
Wait, atmospheric pressure is different from air pressure?
Yeah, they attribute
Doesn't
weight.
atmosphere mean air?
They attribute weight. I didn't know that. That's how I was going to argue that, actually. Well saved. Yeah, so they just assign G, as always, right?
Yeah, they just say it's the weight. They just, it's the weight of the air that keeps it down. Weight of air is pressure. That's the pressure. So you're just saying the pressure of the air keeps the pressure in the pressure. What? Huh?
Silence. No reply.
Did you know that Riley tried to argue animals don't know what up and down is?
Sorry, Dawn. He's just absolutely spanked your ass, and you're moving on. Why do you have to be such a globehead? You're going to respond to him. You wouldn't let me even get my statement out. He's got his statement out, and it was met with silence. Now you're changing the subject. What's your problem?
Okay, I didn't mean to, and I kind of lost the topic because you were shouting at me.
There was a great long pause. Then, the hand,
you triggered me to shout
and now he's talking over me again. Now he's talking over me again. I'm trying to... You just said you didn't listen. Now I'm reiterating what's happened, and undoubtedly before the end of this sentence you'll start talking. So, he has pointed out that your bonehead belief attributes G by calling it weight. Now, you've not listened to it. I've now said it twice. Are you going to talk about Anthony or address what Right the Hand's actually said?
Okay, sorry. I apologise. I drifted. So, I guess my knowledge and belief in gravity doesn't go that far. It's just the word I use for the inherent direction that we observe. That's basically it.
So you're just fundy. Here,
Yeah,
parroting
faith.
shit.
I have faith that is the explanation that's closest.
Yeah,
to
we know. I just
what's
said
happening.
you're a fundy with faith. We know. We don't need you here to parrot your fundy faith belief. So that's all you've got here is your faith. Piss off with your faith.
Dawn, let me ask you a question.
So what have you got? Are you the atheist here? Then? If I'm the faith,
I've got
the
the second law of thermodynamics. That's what I've got. I've got a law of nature that backs when I say the sky is not a vacuum, space is fake, based on a law of nature. What have you got? I don't believe it. I knew he'd fucking interrupt. What have you got, Dawn? A denial of an antecedent-consequent relationship. You don't even know the meaning of the words. You're a retard, Dawn. You've got nothing but faith. You've just told us.
Yeah, faith is a good thing to have as a human.
Hallelujah. Yeah, right.
Very valuable.
Piss off, Dawn. I've got a natural law. You've got faith.
It depends what you put your faith in, Dawn. You've put your faith in mass orbiting mass in a vacuum, which is not a very solid foundation.
Well, I just have faith in the general narrative of it.
Which is mass orbiting mass in a vacuum.
Yeah, I think that's true. I don't know, but I believe
Does that make any sense?
I
Yes, 'cause we
believe
see
in orbits.
moons going around planets in the sky.
Yeah, you
We
believe.
see the moon going around us in the sky.
No, you don't.
We see ourselves rotating.
Don't see it going around us. No, you don't, Dawn. You see it
We
going
infer that we're
around
rotating
in the
from
sky. You
seeing
don't
the
see
sky
it,
rotate.
Dawn. You don't see it going around you. You don't see it going antipodes. You don't see it underneath your own arse. You think you do. You think it goes underneath you. That's just your fantasist fundamentalist belief getting the better of you again.
Dawn,
Well, we
can
all
I
have
ask you a
beliefs
question?
and stuff.
Dawn, Peanuts Clark in chat thinks that you're just trolling. You're not here because you genuinely believe the position, the statements that you're saying. Do you genuinely believe the position?
Sorry, I'm interrupting again. But I don't have a point. Right, I came because you invited me. I thought you were going to ask me a point or something, or I was just going to join in. I don't know.
Well, I'd like to talk to you about gravity, but we get stuck on certain terms, and then you call me dishonest because I disagree with you, and I'm thinking it's
If it helps, I don't mind substituting the word down for more dense, just for the discussion. If it helps, I'd rather call it down because that's the word.
If we can agree that more dense and less dense is the thing that separates the things that we're trying to mix together, if we can agree that more dense over less dense is that cause, then I don't mind you labeling it up and down because that's how we communicate. But if you're going to argue that there is a universal direction that is like pervading over us or that is up and down, I'm going to ask you to explain why, how.
Yeah. Well, I believe it because I see it. I feel it on my body every day, all day. Honestly.
You feel air pressure on your body, Dawn.
No, it's not pressure from the air. It's something invisible that has an inherent direction dragging me downwards.
Air is invisible.
Well, but yeah, it's not air pressure. It's something else.
How do you know?
I don't know, I believe.
So based on nothing, you're going to believe that it's gravity.
Yeah, gravity is just the word I use for the phenomenon.
What phenomenon?
I'm not going to argue what gravity is or anything.
Yeah, we know. You've got a fundy belief. We know.
Yeah, we all have beliefs.
Yeah, but Dawn, here's the problem. If we're gonna debate, and let's say I'm just debating my religious belief in something with no tangible evidence, and I just believe it, how do you debate that? You can't debate somebody's unyielding blind faith.
Well, yeah, but I kind of feel the same when I'm talking to you. You're assuming a container. You're assuming it's not gravity by default.
Yeah, it's just a wanker. You didn't listen to a word I said. That's because you wouldn't let me get to the end of my point, Dawn.
No, you weren't coming through then.
Yeah, and now you're doing it again. So I start talking, and instantly you need to talk over the top of the end of every statement I make. So because you didn't listen to the point I made, you've just made the same bonehead mistake and said you're assuming a container. I asked you what antecedent means, didn't I, Dawn?
Yeah, I just said I don't know.
Yeah, meta. Yeah, go and look it up.
You said in your sentence that you
don't tell me what I've said. Listen again.
What you said.
Listen, try to be educated. Don't fall into the trap of being the bonehead you are. Just listen.
You're assuming that the antecedent nature means it has to be the same in the big scale and in the sky, right? That's what you're assuming.
You've just used a word you don't know, which demonstrates admirably
I do
just
know
how
what
retarded.
It means,
here he goes
I just
again.
couldn't be bothered to look it up right now.
Yeah,
it means
so
you need it.
Dawn,
Dawn, system, right?
It's critical.
It
Dawn, shut up. It's critical. That's why I'm asking you to look it up, but you have just chosen instead to not look it up and use the word out of context. So Dawn, I'll try again, because he's got to talk over the top of me. I'll try once more. Go and look it up.
I have before. It's not critical to atmospheric pressure, is it?
What does it mean?
Nowhere does it say we need a container to have atmospheric pressure.
What's an antecedent, Dawn?
Not for atmospheric pressure, it's not.
That's what an antecedent is, bonehead. No, Dawn. No, Dawn. Don't keep talking. No, Dawn. That's not what an antecedent is. Perhaps you might want to go and look it up. Fourth time.
Oh, give me 30 seconds then.
Good lad.
He changes air pressure to atmospheric pressure. That's the switcheroo. And then the switcheroo is that air pressure requires a container, but atmospheric pressure can be held down with the weight of.
Should I Google, does the atmosphere need a container?
Oh, God, he's so retarded. He's that retarded. Get a pen. I'll say it a fifth time. Write it down. Google. And TC, he can't fucking help but talk while I tell him what to do. He came back for directions asking if he should Google search something totally different, didn't he? Didn't he, audience? Yeah, bonehead, that's right. Yeah, try and write this down this time. I'll try again. I'll try for a sixth time, but no, he'll interrupt. So I'll try again for a seventh time, Dawn, with pen in hand, paper at the ready. Google search the term antecedent. Go.
Yeah. So I actually trust you when you told me what it was. So
I haven't told you what it was.
You asked me to Google it. Just Google it, Dawn.
I have. I know what it means.
Well, read it. What does it say?
Well, you want to explain it to everyone. Knows, don't they?
No, you don't know.
I do know.
Read it out. This is like pulling teeth.
Come on, Dawn. Read it.
A thing that existed before or logically precedes another.
Right. The thing that exists before gas pressure, pressing pressure is something to I knew he'd interrupt. You're going to listen
up.
I'm just saying right. Listen up, fuckwit. Right. Listen up. We're trying to educate you. It's tough. It's hard work. But if you interrupt every single statement I make, you'll just end up making the same mistakes. You'll be forever stupid. I'll try again without the dumbest person here interrupting me. So, without something to press on, you can't have pressure. So, the antecedent is the thing you need to press on.
Nice, we got a pick. Let's go.
So can I argue that gravity makes the thing that is pressed on?
No, because it doesn't even make sense.
Acts as a container.
So you think a pseudo force, not a force, acts as a container? Is that what you think?
Oh, I said, can I argue that? What would you say?
You can do whatever you like, but I'll pull my pants down and take a giant shit on that kind of nonsense, Dawn. Let's be honest. No, Dawn. No, let me answer. You've posed it as a question. Can I argue that gravity, a pseudo-force, a non-force, a not a force, can be... Dawn. Why do you do it every time? Every single time.
Did you say stuff that's made up? And
Shut
it's really annoying.
the fuck up. Can I say a pseudo-force, non-force, something that doesn't push, pull, or provide any force to anything?
Your words, not my words.
I knew it. You're brain dead. You'll remain brain dead forever, Dawn.
Oh.
Yeah,
Can't
shut up,
kick him.
Dawn. Shut up. Yeah, because you've triggered Darwin to interrupt me now. That's what happens. You've set him off. So, Dawn, yeah, you need something to press upon to have pressure. Arguing that a non-force acts as a container, by definition, is a concession that you need a container, Dawn. So in your question, you're conceding that you need a container because you're asking if a pseudo-force can be a container.
So your answer is no, I can't argue that.
No. My answer is you're a retard and I'll take my trousers down and take a shit on such a useless argument, which is what I've just painfully done with you interrupting me 4 times.
Well, now I have a question, but because you've found the citation, like
why
say
would
you
we
found
listen
20...
to anything else you have
me.
to say?
So
Why would we listen to you anymore, Dawn? Why would we listen to you? Why do you have questions for us? Why? It takes us 15 minutes just to get one statement out that you'll simultaneously ignore and assert again 10 minutes later. So why would we listen to your questions, Dawn? You don't listen to the answers.
Nathan, could I have a chat with Dawn?
Be my guest.
Dawn, your question was, what was the question that you asked? Can I blame someone else?
I mean, I've heard other people say that the phenomenon of gravity, Earth attracting stuff to it, making the gas pressure, is making the same effect as it pressing on a container.
If I was to say that a PhD who writes for Scientific American stated that gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force, would you still want to argue or question whether or not you want to cite something that's not actually a force, but you can think of it as a force as a reason for something happening?
Yeah, I understand that happened, and if you look deep into them, they say technically it's not a force. But I mean, I don't want to say acts like a force every time, so we just say the force of gravity. I don't mind saying the phenomenon
it's not a
of
force,
gravity.
though, it's not a force. So the answer to your question, which when you said, can I challenge or question that it might be someone else causing it, you can, but if the thing you're about to ask is to do with gravity, and we know that gravity is not a force, but we can think of it as a force, I'm then going to say no, because the thing that you're asking about doesn't exist.
I'll call it the then if I remember to. But so I was going to ask another question. I was going to pose it to Nathan, but I could ask you. Let me just
hang on, Don. Don, I got a question for you.
You know, you found the citation saying we need containers and antecedents.
Dawn. You've asked a couple of questions. You've got answers that have taken very long time to answer with you interrupting constantly. Now someone's got a question for you. Go ahead, 10th man.
Don, can you please provide just one single example of pressure existing without a container?
Yes, you live in it. You are the example. This reality is the example.
You just stepped outside, looked at the sky, and said something. I need an example that you have.
I'm saying over the hundreds of years of people going upwards, no one's ever bumped into a container ever. We haven't found any evidence of a sky container, so we assume it's different to small pressure systems that we create ourselves on Earth.
Who's this we?
This is why I was going to ask my question, because you found the citation that says it's an antecedent. Does that mean you can't ever believe?
Dawn, you keep saying we. Who's this we?
You lot, the ones who think there has to be a container because you found a citation that says
Sorry,
Dawn,
I'm trying to get clarity on what you're saying. You just won't shut up. So we haven't bumped into the sky. Us on the panel haven't bumped into the sky. That's what you're saying.
No one's ever reported to have bumped into the sky container that you.
And nobody has
suggest
ever
is there.
demonstrated gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container, Dawn. So therefore, you'd naturally assume that the sky is contained.
You don't
and the
have
gas.
to demonstrate
Dawn!
a solar
Dawn!
system in a universe.
Shut up!
Universe, do we?
Dawn,
There is one.
you're really going to piss me off if we can't have a two-way
Not everything
conversation.
is demonstrated
And every
in a
single
small
time I
scale.
talk, you talk over the top of me. Yeah, Dawn, given that there isn't a single demonstration of gas pressure without a container, why on earth would you point to the sky and assume that that is an example of it when there aren't any other examples? Why would you assume that that is one when you haven't experienced that?
Because not everything is demonstrated on a small scale. Some things are different on a large scale. And sometimes there's other evidence for something being something, even though you haven't got another small scale example.
I see.
Doesn't mean
okay,
it's not
Dawn,
true,
you don't have to go on and on. Yeah, so sometimes there's evidence for things not being as they are. So is there any evidence of gas pressure without a container? Because at the moment you're pointing at the sky where nobody's going, and all of the other examples point in the other direction that a container is needed. So it
What do you mean nobody
seems
goes to the sky?
I knew he wouldn't shut his fucking mouth.
Loads
Do
of
I
people
only
go to the
get
sky.
15-second intervals with you, Dawn? Is that what the rules are here? I get to talk for 15 seconds before you fucking interrupt me. Is that the rules? Is that how
You said
long you
something
can
wrong
listen
again.
for?
You said something
Is that
wrong
how
again.
long
You
you
said
can
nobody
listen?
goes
Is that
to the
how
sky.
long you can listen
I
for,
have to
Dawn?
interrupt
You've
and say,
only
but
got a
people do go in the
15-second
sky.
attention span. Is that how long you can listen for? 15 seconds before you have to talk?
But by the time you get to the end, there's like 4 things.
Yeah, I
that
don't
have
get
say.
to the end, though,
That's
do
wrong.
I, Dawn? You interrupt every single time.
You literally said nobody goes in the sky. This is a blatant lie.
Can someone else on the panel back me up? Because literally
the
in this
sky where
conversation,
nobody
even now with
goes.
Dawn,
I'm literally
even now with
trying to
Dawn,
put you on
he
mute.
will not let me get to the end of a sentence under any circumstances. Can someone on the panel back me up that he's being completely unreasonable?
Yeah,
He's
I'm
being
Dawn. You gotta just
non-pompous.
like wait, just count to 10, man, in your head. Just count to 10. Like I
Yeah,
have
I'm
trouble
trying,
butting
I'm
in
trying.
too. Just let him wait for the lull.
Yeah. So there is absolutely no examples that conform with your belief in what the sky is. None of us are going there to confirm your belief that contradicts every single example. So when you say there may be examples that contravene it and then point at the sky, well, is it that maybe your sky belief defies every single example given, Dawn?
Yeah, it does. It does defy a lot of examples given in a laboratory.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
All.
Not a lot. Every.
All,
Not all of
Dawn.
them.
All examples of gas pressure have the necessary antecedent of a container. So pointing at the sky is not an affirmation of your sky belief. It's in fact circular reasoning. Using your belief. I knew he would. I knew it. I absolutely knew when I got to the conclusion he'd interrupt. Yeah? So it's called circular reasoning. Pointing at the sky and saying, I believe it's a sky vacuum, is not a demonstration of it being a sky vacuum, only an affirmation of your fundamentalist religious belief in a sky vacuum. And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Also, of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel. If you need to keep yourself occupied after the stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video, and stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
I can see that macro is different to the micro.
But when? Where? Where do you?
Because the gas pressures that you're talking about are car tires, cans, tins.
Okay, but you're just naming
butane, yeah. and you're expecting the whole sky, the
No,
whole
you're expecting
nature
nothing.
and heavens, the whole realm to be the same as your example of a car tire.
Yeah,
It's
why
just
not?
ridiculous, and
Why?
I don't
Why is
agree.
it ridiculous? Why?
Because it's a massive assumption and it's circular
no,
reasoning,
no,
what
it's
Nathan was then going over.
Oh,
that it
he's
I
gonna
see this
charge
on a
us.
tiny scale that I created, so my
No,
whole reality
I
must
point
be the
out
same.
circular reasoning, and now we're being charged with it. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you
no,
did.
no,
I
no,
was
no,
going
no,
to
no,
say
no,
it
no.
before you
Dawn,
ran the show
Dawn,
out, but
Dawn. A container is the necessary antecedent. It's not circular reasoning. It's an antecedent. Your sky
small
vacuum belief, on the
human-made
other
gas
hand,
pressures,
I knew
yes.
it. I knew it. I'd get 7 seconds. Your sky belief, on the other hand, is only backed up by your sky belief, isn't it, Dawn?
no, it's not only backed up by a sky belief.
What other demonstration other than
Everyone
you
goes in the
Dawn,
sky.
Dawn,
We go in the
Dawn,
sky. We never hit
Dawn,
a
this is
barrier.
not a reasonable way
We
to
feel a
behave, mate.
gradient all the
Dawn,
way up
I'm
to
going to have to
nothing.
kick you out soon. You're just not behaving reasonably. It's not a two-way conversation. It's you asking a point, then giving 7 seconds, then talking non-stop over the top of the same exact point. You don't really have much to say, but you'll say it 50 times over the top of any point that takes more than 7 seconds. It's totally unreasonable, Dawn. Just please stop doing it. So, Dawn, other than you pointing at the sky and saying that is an example of gas pressure without a container, other than that, give me one other example. Don't talk just yet, because if there is no other example, and the only example can be given is your belief in the sky vacuum, then by definition that is, I already know it is, everyone on the panel knows it is, everyone who's watching knows it is, circular reasoning. Now, an antecedent, on the other hand, that's demonstratable. I can show you gas pressure with a container. I'm asking you now, for the second time in this statement, just so it's clear, for you to give any other example except for pointing at the sky, which is precisely what you're trying to prove. An example of gas pressure without a container. Please, Dawn.
As I told you in the show, I don't have your type of example of a small scale gas pressure without a container.
So all you have is your pointing at the sky to affirm your belief in the sky vacuum. So you believe the sky is a vacuum, and you point at the sky as proof of the sky vacuum, Dawn. That is the very definition of circular reasoning.
Well, we all needed a little bit of circular reasoning.
Oh, now I've been proven through painstaking means that I'm using circular reasoning, then by definition we must all need circular reasoning. No, Dawn. It's called a logical fallacy. Not good logic, but fallacious logic. So no, Dawn, we all don't need a bit of circular reasoning. It's just you using it, my friend.
Hey, Don,
Another
can I
word for my
finish my
type of
question with
reasoning.
you?
My word for your type of reasoning is lies.
Oh, I see. Now we're going to start charging me with stuff. I've just been proven to be really stupid, so quick, let's attack the person that's pointed out how stupid I am, rather than having some humility and thinking, I just used a logical fallacy to make an argument for the last 25 minutes. So I'm going to call the host a liar, the very person that's pointed out my fallacious logic. Because that seems reasonable. What's that? Sat at the back of the class? The teacher's just managed to teach you something? I know, chuck a paper aeroplane.
Insane, dude. You're
Or
fucking
rumpus-
insane.
Or rumpus the shit out of it. Right?
Hey, Don, let me finish my question with you, if I may. Do you consider the atmosphere, the sky, part of the natural world?
Yes.
Okay.
The atmosphere and
You
the
said-
sky and
Yeah, that's
it,
good.
yeah.
That's good. No, let me continue my line of thinking, please, and then you can answer. So you brought a word in a few minutes ago as the first show ended. You said presupposing. So if we were to go there, presupposing that is, then Nathan is using a law of nature, the second law of thermodynamics, and you just admitted that the atmosphere is part of the natural world, which would fall into that category. But you can't give one example of gas pressure without a container. In fact, everything you say violates that law of nature. So even your presupposing falls apart.
Yeah, well, if I understood the second law of thermodynamics, I might be able to argue it. I would bring up the fact that if you're going to believe the second law of thermodynamics, why don't you believe in the law of gravitation, which is supposed to be a natural law as well?
Really? Where have you been the last week?
Where do we see this law of gravitation in play?
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who have joined us in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, or tuning in, smashing the super chat, hopefully liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Again, if you need to keep yourself occupied after this premiering stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. A massive thank you to all of today's debating panels on Discord and Hangouts. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!